We've got Pat in Pasadena. How are you?
Pat, are you there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Pat.
How are you today?
We're good.
Good. I just wanted to call in. I had several issues. I'm a Christian, but I'm not the Christian that I'm not the type of Christian that the traditional Christian.
So you're not like I used to be.
I don't know how you used to be.
Okay.
Good answer.
I do believe in God, but I don't believe that Jesus is God.
Okay.
I believe that Jesus is part of God, like we all are, and I don't believe that God is a person. I believe in my meditations, I've come to realize, because I was born and raised Baptist, traditional religion, but it makes
Me
sense.
too.
And stuff has to make sense. And when I started meditating, I entered into the energy that's inside of us. And it's like a whole world that's inside of us. But it's deep, deep, deep inside of us.
Yeah, okay.
And after realizing that, I realized that it's all energy.
Okay, stop.
Uh-huh.
How do you know any of this? You're meditating and you say you entered the energies that are deep inside of us. That's nonsensical until you explain it.
Okay. Well, I left my body.
How do you know?
Because I could feel it. I could feel the energy inside me. I didn't know what it was at the point. I really didn't know what it was. But it was kind of scary.
Okay, if you didn't know what it was, how did you find out what it was?
Because when I started telling everybody about my experience, everybody thought I was crazy except one person.
And the person who didn't think you were crazy said you left your body.
No, what she had studied metaphysics. And she told me I was being introduced to metaphysics because everything I told her was stuff she had studied and read about. And I had never studied or read about it.
Okay, the type of thing you're talking about when you say metaphysics isn't anything that's demonstrably real. There's nobody with any demonstrable expertise in it. And it's no different from the one person who didn't think you were crazy just making stuff up.
No, but metaphysics, the way we explain the spiritual metaphysics, is understanding life from the physical realm as well as the invisible realm.
What invisible realm, and how do you know it exists?
Because I was there. I've seen people that were there that had passed on to the next dimension.
But Pat, you said you didn't know what it was.
No, and when
somebody else told you what they thought it was, and now you're telling us that that's what it was. The thing is, we're not convinced by that person who told you that what you experienced was a metaphysical realm.
Well, when she told me that they were gifts of the Spirit, and when she also said that because she had studied the life of Jesus, that these were some of the gifts that he had. And
I was told not to go swimming until 30 minutes after I ate. Does that make it true?
No, but the stuff that I saw was undeniable.
Okay. We could prove you wrong by just denying it right now, but that won't make for a very good conversation. It clearly is deniable because it's just your word over everybody else's, except for those occasional people who have reached the same conclusion as you. The only evidence you've got, Pat, the only evidence you've given us for why we should take what you're saying seriously as, as representative of some real metaphysical realm is because this other person told you so.
Well, I proved it in my own life.
Okay, how can somebody else prove it?
No.
How can somebody else?
If you're willing to do the work, you have to do the work.
I understand. I'm asking, what process can somebody go through to prove this? And if it's demonstrable, why is it that you and a couple other people have managed to do this and nobody's won a Nobel Prize for this?
Because, a lot of people are spiritually lazy when it comes down to doing the work. They'd rather take somebody else's work for what's true instead of searching out for themselves. Okay, you don't know how science works. Do you realize that grad students all across the world would love to find a method to demonstrate the thing that you're talking about because it would instantly catapult them from grad student to world-famous Nobel Prize-winning, world-changing scientist? You know what? Well, I give an experience. I'll tell you what to do. It's up to the person to do it, to reach that part of science. In fact, you do it, and let's talk next week when you come back on. Sure, but let me tell you, if it involves holding a mirror under running water and being tied, because that's been done before. Go ahead. Just go get into a quiet place and sit quietly and do deep breathing. slowly and rhythmically.
Do I need a bag?
No. And as you're breathing, just ask yourself, who am I?
Okay.
And it may take a while. It may take a half an hour. It may take an hour. It may take 2 hours, but I guarantee you, if you ask yourself, who am I, long enough, you will get an experience that you've never experienced in your life.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Pat.
Okay.
How do I know that this experience is anything that ties to reality? Because when I ask this question, who am I, if I sit there long enough and, reach whatever state it is, I don't necessarily know that what I'm receiving is real. And if Jeff does it, he's likely to get a different answer because his question, who am I, involves Jeff. So there can be no correlation between different people's experiences in this.
I understand.
Okay, so that's not anything that we could scientifically demonstrate.
But let me tell you, because I did this, the first time I did it, it took me about 3 hours because I was determined to sit there until I heard something. Because I was listening to a regular traditional religious station, and the minister said, do this, and he said, you would hear that you're a child of God and you're loved and beauty and all this stuff.
And you don't think that your determination to sit there until you heard something had any effect on the results that you got?
No, well, yeah, I think so because I sat there because I was determined I was going to see if he knew what he was talking about. But what I got was something totally different. And it changed my life from traditional religion, even though I'm a Christian, but it changed my ideas of traditional religion.
So you got something that's totally different, and you take that as confirmation. So if we're in the laboratory...
You intentionally...
What actually happened at the crucifixion.
Pat, you sat there, and you performed this exercise that is not how you normally, go about your daily life. You breathed deeply, and you kept at it until you had a strange experience, and then you have assumed that meant something. And the thing is, you're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of yourself. I mean...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just get so excited. Go ahead.
I've done when I was a little kid and an idiot, and it was a stupid thing that kids in my high school were doing.
No,
Let me finish. When it was a stupid thing kids in my high school were doing, I was doing deep breathing and then getting kind of dizzy and falling over. And that's actually a dangerous, stupid thing to do, but that was an experience unlike any I had ever had. And if I had been in the state of mind that I was looking for some kind of sense of a supernatural thing, I easily could have jumped to the conclusion that that's what I got.
And similarly...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and similarly, we've done tests. There are scientists doing tests right now by stimulating portions of the brain that give people experiences that they universally declare are divine. And by the way, you could take hallucinogenic drugs and other drugs, salvia, LSD, whatever, that would produce an experience that is unlike any other, that many people liken to divine experiences. My point is that this is the type of thing that you should expect to happen when you mess with your brain, which, by the way, deep breathing is going to do, and when you train your brain to expect a particular result, which is exactly what you're doing. So what I'm asking is, you have offered nothing to demonstrate that what you experienced maps to anything real. Is it not true that it could still just be a product of your brain?
No, because the brain in of itself doesn't work without this energy, which we call soul.
Okay, no.
What energy? What energy are we talking about?
Now you've just gone and made a circular argument.
No, okay. What I'm trying to say is this is the way I solved the crucifixion. What actually happened at the crucifixion because of the experience that I had. I've solved. In fact, I've just written a book about it.
Well, I'm glad that you saw it, but and I'll sit down and do some deep breathing, and maybe we can talk about it again. But you'll have to, unfortunately, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, unfortunately, you'll have to put me in the category of people who do think that you're crazy. Not crazy across the board.
Matt, listen.
Not crazy across the board. I don't think you're nuts. I don't think you need to be locked up. I'm saying that on this subject, you've had experiences, and I don't doubt that you had experiences. I'll take you at your word for that. The problem is that you cannot tie those experiences to reality. People have hallucinations.
A lot of things, you can't prove a lot of things in reality, but they still exist.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
The things that we can demonstrate in reality are the things that exist. That's it.
And they're the things, and they are, and Pat,
I can't demonstrate air?
No, you can't.
Have you never blown up a balloon?
You can't prove that it's there. You can prove the
Pat,
outcome because we're living.
Pat, you don't have to see it to demonstrate it.
But you have to see God know they exist.
Pat, seeing something is not the only way to demonstrate it. And by the way, we can not only witness the effects of air, but you can see what's in air. And you've never blown up a balloon? That is an actual tactile demonstration that air exists.
Well, have you ever thought about when you walk, when you die, you don't walk anymore, but when your spirit is inside you, you can walk and talk and breathe and do all that stuff? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. I have thought about that, and what I discovered in thinking and researching that is that medical science understands how it is that our bodies can get up and walk around, and it has nothing to do with invisible spooks.
Well, I brought 2 people out of comas when the doctor said they weren't going to come out because of my understanding of the astral world, because I've astral before.
You have documentation of this?
Why didn't you collect $1 million from the James Randi Educational
Foundation? Yeah, James
Foundation?
Randi has $1 million for you if you can prove that any of this crap is true. I've had just about enough of this, Pat. When the moment you can prove that any of this stuff that you're telling us about is actually true and not just the product of your lurid imagination, that's the point when you can write a book about it and not be just ripping people off by selling them your imaginings and calling it real.
He never died on the cross to save anybody from anything.
Excuse me?
Yeah, he never died on the cross. And there's a principle. See, if you understand principles of life,
this is according to your fantasy that you had of seeing the sea.
Out of your body and
what is wrong with you,
Pat? We're done.
Why?
Because
you're a loon.
You don't want to understand.
Look, we've been very patient with you. We've been very patient with you, Pat, to give us a
spent a lot of time trying to really understand realities. And if you read in Ecclesiastes, it tells you just like it's a principle. Like if you have a baby,
hey, you know what? Captain Kirk asked why God needed a starship. You're done.
Wow.
We just don't want to understand
clearly. We were very patient with you, Pat. We gave you all the time in the world to give us a single reason why we should take the stuff you were telling us seriously.
And instead of actually offering or attempting to understand, all you did was jump from, well, I witnessed the crucifixion, and come on now, who's not going to think you're like crazy when you start saying stuff like that? And the only evidence is that you experienced
it. And then I actually called her a loon, which, I'll admit, there's a possibility that I'm wrong. There's a possibility that Pat's not a loon, but I'm going with my carefully calculated reaction to the way that she presented herself.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that Pat is accurate and has accurate information, and everything that she experiences is real and maps to reality.
Yeah.
And there's also a chance that the schizophrenics and people who hallucinate are actually seeing a realm that you and I can't actually see, or at least I can't see. I don't know what you can see. But until it's demonstrated, there's no reason for anybody else to believe it.
Right.
And we are actually rationally justified in disregarding your anecdotal, testimonial, personal experiences.
Yeah, and not just us, but what really got me is she's written a book.
Yeah.
So she is going to take money from other people on the basis of her fantasies.
It may be a free book, a free ebook. We don't know.
Okay.
But if you are taking money for this, you should feel pretty.
You're an irresponsible kook if you're taking money for it.
But that's all right. We'll move on.